There's an anomaly in the engine. An anomaly. What's the word anomaly? You mean there's something gone wrong that's unusual, an anomaly, and I'm lying there. And there's hydrogen. And finally the anomaly is over, and the spaceship takes off. And we're in G's, and the first G, there's a panel right there, and then 2 G's will accelerate. And I try to put my arm up, 2 G's, we're gonna face 7 G's on the way back. And finally, we get up there, and we're in weightlessness. In the Proto-European language, which started in the steppes of Russia, if you will, the word for horse entered the vocabulary. So archaeologists know that sometime 10,000 years ago, horses began to be domesticated. Thank you, sir. Began to be domesticated. There's no word in the English language yet for experiences like weightlessness. So it's indescribable. You're weightless, but you're almost, you get queasy. There's a thing called the vomit comet. There's a vomit comet, which gets people like astronauts or people who will pay for it, accustomed to weightlessness. They do an outside loop, okay? Outside loop. And for 45 seconds in that outside loop, you're weightless. And a lot of people get queasy. In fact, a lot of people vomit. And that's why it's called the vomit comet. So people are weightless, and they're floating around, and little pieces of somebody else's vomit is coming back. That's not something I want to do. So when we went into weightlessness, I didn't want to fool around. Everybody had plans, we'll float, we'll do somersault. Jeff Bezos, who turns out to be this wonderful guy, dreamer and an extraordinary human being, was the first person on his comet to go up there. I've seen footage of this. So they get into weightlessness, obviously the first time, and there's no way to describe it. Let me give you an instance of what 2 of these people did on the first trip of that spaceship. Weightlessness. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, is on his stomach floating, his back, and he's level like this, so his legs are spread out like this. His back's to the camera. They've got a young guy there. For some reason, he had chosen this young fellow. And this young fellow is throwing candies at his rear end. That was weightlessness. There's no words to describe that. I didn't want to fool around, so I got with the weightless, you're out of the 5-point harness, and I'm floating around, and I'm already not feeling too cool. I want to get to the window. And I get to the window, and for some reason I look back. I don't know why. I look back and I saw the wake of the spaceship through the air, like a submarine going through the water. There was a wake. I'd never heard anybody talk about that. There's a wake there, my God. And then I turned around and I saw blackness. And I saw what I thought looked to me like death. Now, I was intrigued by the universe as anybody. I've talked to scientists, I've read books, I know about 13.8 billion years. There's a constellation that the telescope, what's the name of the Hubble, has seen 13.8 billion light years. It's forever. And not only that, when that photon reached the eye of the guy looking through the telescope, that constellation was 13.8 billion years gone somewhere else. That's how incredibly mysterious and vast space is. But I didn't see that. I looked at palpable blackness. I could see blackness, and I thought, my God, that's death. And I looked back at Earth, and I saw beautiful white clouds and beige desert and blue sky. Life-giving Earth in the blackness of space. And then I was overwhelmed by grief, sadness, because I've also done a lot of studying in ecology, and I know what we're doing to this tiny, I could see the curvature of the Earth like that. And I thought, my God, how small is that? I could draw a finger around what I was looking at. I went to Cambridge, England, to interview Stephen Hawking. And I was sitting in Cambridge Cathedral, and I looked up in that part of the building that is the tower and the stained glass, and I saw a moat of dust up there. And I thought, that's what Earth must look like. A moat of dust in the sunlight. How insignificant this Earth is. How insignificant we are on this little grain of sand, on a grain of sand in the Sahara Desert. We're nothing. It's nothing. We're nothing. Except for this one thing that I only realized weeks later. The Earth is insignificant. We're insignificant. But we're aware that we're insignificant. We have the gift of awareness. We're aware that we're nothing. But what a gift that makes us something to be aware. And that's humankind. There are no other entities on earth that have that significance. We're aware how insignificant we are. And with that awareness, how can we be cruel to each other? We're here for such a brief time. Why are we so cruel to each other so many of the times? There's no time for it. Those people in the Ukraine, their beautiful country, those beautiful cities that took 500 years to make are being destroyed. How is that possible? It makes you cry. And that's what I was weeping for, and I didn't realize it until weeks later that I offer you this only reasoning I've come up with about cruelty to human beings. I just dropped my water again, and I don't want to be like Jeff Bezos and turn my rear end to you and have people pet. Hello.